The incessant blare of your alarm slices through the dawn. Another day unfurls, a relentless tapestry woven with traffic-packed schedules and the digital symphony of your smartphone vibrating, buzzing, demanding attention with endless notifications. Emails, deadlines, social media feeds, they clamor for your focus, pulling you in 1,000 directions. Bills multiply, responsibilities pile up, an ever-present hum of financial obligation. It's a life often lived at warp speed, a blur of work, consumption, and digital distraction, where genuine connection feels like a luxury and peace a distant memory. Is this the life you truly envisioned? Are you merely running on fumes, caught in a dizzying loop, navigating existence without truly living it? When was the last time you felt truly, profoundly free? Not just a fleeting weekend getaway, but a deep, unburdened sense of liberty that permeates your very being. When did you last hear your own thoughts, clear and undiluted, above the incessant chatter of the world, above the demands of others, above the constant, seductive noise we've all grown so accustomed to? Have you ever paused long enough to recognize the subtle ache of unexamined assumptions, the quiet whisper of a life waiting to be lived with deeper intention? Centuries before our digital age, a man named Henry David Thoreau made a radical choice. He famously walked away from societal clamor, trading expectations and routines for a simple cabin by Walden Pond. He wasn't seeking to escape life, but rather to distill it, to strip away the non-essentials, and confront only the fundamental facts of existence. His purpose was singular: to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life, and see if I could not learn what it had to teach, and not, when I came to die, discover that I had not lived. He sought an answer to the very questions we often bury under layers of obligation, distraction, and superficiality. What does it truly mean to live with purpose and profound intention, rather than merely exist as a passive participant in someone else's script? Today, in our own hyper-connected yet often disconnected world, we stand at a crucial crossroads. This isn't just another audiobook, it's an urgent invitation. An invitation to pause the relentless scroll, to question modern life's ingrained habits, and to embark on a profound, introspective journey. A journey guided by one of history's most articulate and soul-searching minds, St. Augustine. We'll venture into his timeless masterpiece, the Confessions, penned over 16 centuries ago, yet startlingly relevant to our contemporary struggles. Through his raw honesty and intellectual rigor, Augustine challenges us to look beyond the superficial, beyond the default path of accumulation and instant gratification, towards a life rich with purpose, meaning, and genuine liberation. A life where you are not just paying bills, but authentically, deliberately living. Join us as we explore what it means to reclaim your own narrative, to forge a path towards a more intentional, fulfilling existence. It's time to ask yourself with unflinching honesty, are you truly living or just paying bills? Have you ever felt like you're caught in the relentless, overwhelming current of modern life? The constant notifications, the pressure to always be on, that nagging sense that you're sprinting but perpetually chasing an ever-moving finish line, feeling perpetually behind? I certainly have. Not so long ago, I found myself utterly burnt out, feeling hollowed out by the constant demands, my days blurring into a cycle of reactivity that left little room for genuine thought or connection. It was suffocating, leading to a gnawing sense of emptiness and profound anxiety. It was in that state that I stumbled upon a surprising, counterintuitive lifeline. It wasn't a trendy new podcast or the latest self-help guru's manifesto. It was, surprisingly, the profound, defiant words of Henry David Thoreau. Imagine for a moment a world teetering on the brink of technological and industrial revolution, much like our own digital age is transforming everything. It was into this very context, over 170 years ago, that a singular mind decided to intentionally hit the brakes. Thoreau retreated to a cabin he built himself by Walden Pond to live deliberately, to confront the essential facts of life, and to simplify his existence for 2 transformative years. He chronicled this extraordinary experiment in Walden *, and explored the power of individual conscience in civil disobedience *. What I discovered in his writings wasn't just dusty historical anecdote, it was an urgent, intensely practical guide for navigating the very pressures that were crushing me. His radical ideas about simplicity, self-reliance, and living with intention didn't just speak to my condition, they offered a powerful blueprint for reclaiming my sanity, my time, and my purpose. And that truly is the heart of this video series. This isn't an academic deep dive into transcendentalist philosophy, nor is it a demand that you sell all your possessions and move to a rustic cabin unless, of course, that deeply resonates with you. Instead, our goal is much more practical: to extract the timeless wisdom from Thoreau's experiment and make it actionable for your hyper-connected, often overwhelming modern life. We'll explore how his insights can help us rethink our relationship with work, technology, material possessions, and even our own internal landscape. So, consider this less of a formal academic lecture and more of a candid conversation between friends, a shared journey to uncover how a book written over a century and a half ago can offer some of the most relevant, empowering guidance you'll find today. Welcome to Chapter 1 of our journey through Augustine's Confessions, titled Economy and the Real Cost of Things. While Augustine grappled with spiritual economies, we begin by deconstructing a concept profoundly relevant to his journey and our own Thoreau's idea of economy. Forget bank accounts. Thoreau invites us to a far more intimate, costly calculation. He famously posited that the true cost of a thing isn't the dollar amount, but the amount of your life you must exchange for it. This isn't just about earning the money. It extends to the time spent acquiring, maintaining, worrying about, or even replacing it. It's the sum total of your vital energy, your precious, finite time, surrendered for every possession and pursuit now and in the long run. Every purchase, every ambition carries an invisible price tag denominated in units of your irreplaceable life. Consider this against our modern lives. We're bombarded with necessities: the latest smartphone, trendiest fashion, newest gadget. But are these true needs, or constructed desires extracting more of our life force? What's the life cost of upgrading your phone yearly? It's not just the money, it's the hours worked, the research, setup time, data transfer, learning new features, and the anxiety of keeping up. True needs, Thoreau argued, are few and simple: food, shelter, clothing, fuel. Everything beyond demands a deeper personal audit. So I challenge you, think of one recent purchase, perhaps from the last month. Apply Thoreau's calculus. What was its true cost in your life? How many hours did you work to earn the money? How much time spent researching, traveling to get it, or waiting for delivery? What's been its impact on your time and attention since? Does it genuinely enrich your existence, or demand more of your finite life to maintain or simply possess? This isn't about guilt, it's about awareness, reclaiming sovereignty over your most precious commodity, your life itself. Thoreau famously embodied this philosophy at Walden Pond. His simple living experiment was, at its heart, a radical exercise in life cost accounting. He meticulously documented every penny spent on his cabin, food, and few tools. He calculated that by building his own shelter, growing much of his own food, and largely eschewing material desires, he could live richly on just a few weeks of labor per year. The rest of his time, his life was then freed for contemplation, writing, observing nature, and pursuing intellectual and spiritual passions. He wasn't aiming for poverty, but for profound richness of being, achieved by minimizing the life cost of his necessities. His economy was about maximizing life, not possessions. This radical reframing might seem far removed from 4th century St. Augustine, yet its resonance is undeniable. Augustine, too, struggled with what he exchanged his life for: worldly ambitions, intellectual pursuits, and carnal desires, only to find them wanting. His confessions are in essence a life cost audit of his soul, a reckoning with where he'd invested his spiritual capital and what true return he'd received. As we delve deeper into Augustine's journey, keep Thoreau's question in mind: what is the true cost of what you seek in units of your own precious, irreplaceable life? Welcome to Chapter 2, Finding Your Why. In the grand tapestry of human existence, few quests are as profound or as enduring as the search for purpose. St. Augustine, through his Confessions, embarks on a deeply personal journey to understand his own why, his ultimate purpose in relation to God and truth. But before we delve further into Augustine's specific path, let's lay a groundwork for what it means to truly seek and define this purpose in our own lives, drawing inspiration from another seminal figure in the pursuit of deliberate living, Henry David Thoreau. In his timeless work Walden meaning with unparalleled clarity, he famously declared, and I quote, "I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life, and see if I could not learn what it had to teach, and not, when I came to die, discover that I had not lived. I did not wish to live what was not life, living is so dear, nor did I wish to practice resignation unless it was quite necessary. I wanted to live deep and suck out all the marrow of life, to live so sturdily and Spartan-like as to put to rout all that was not life, to cut a broad swath and shave close, to drive life into a corner and reduce it to its lowest terms, and if it proved to be mean, why then to get the whole and genuine meanness of it and publish its meanness to the world. Or if it were sublime, to know it by experience and be able to give a true account of it in my next excursion." It's a powerful declaration, isn't it? Thoreau's experiment wasn't about escaping society, it was about confronting life head-on, stripping away the superfluous to uncover the fundamental truth. His woods represent a deliberate choice to engage with existence on his own terms. In our fast-paced modern world, where external pressures often dictate our rhythms, this sentiment resonates profoundly. How many of us find ourselves swept along by inertia, living not by design but by default? The danger he alludes to, of coming to the end of our days only to discover we haven't truly lived, is what he and others termed quiet desperation. It's the creeping feeling that life is happening to us rather than through us. We operate on autopilot, fulfilling expectations, chasing external validation, often without pausing to ask if these pursuits align with our deepest value. This is precisely where the concept of defining your personal mission statement comes into play, a modern translation of Thoreau's deliberate living. It's about articulating your core purpose, your values, and the impact you wish to make. It serves as your internal compass, guiding your choices, actions, and even your reactions. So, let's take a moment for profound self-reflection, mirroring the spirit of both Augustine and Thoreau. If you stripped away all external expectations, the job you think you should have, the lifestyle you believe you ought to maintain, the roles others have assigned to you, if you peeled back all those layers, what would you live for? What would truly motivate you? What fundamental truths would you seek to confront and understand? This question, in its essence, is the starting point for finding your why, and it's a journey we'll continue to explore as we delve deeper into the extraordinary confessions of St. Augustine. Welcome to Chapter 3, Reading and the Books That Build You. As we delve deeper into Augustine's intellectual and spiritual journey, it's impossible to ignore the profound role that texts played in shaping his worldview, his conscience, and ultimately his destiny. Augustine was a reader, a scholar, a man whose mind was forged in the fires of rhetoric and philosophy. This brings us to a perspective on reading that feels profoundly relevant today, one championed by another great thinker, Henry David Thoreau. Thoreau famously saw reading not as a passive pastime or a casual distraction, but as a deliberate act of intellectual awakening and profound self-improvement. He believed that engaging with great literature was akin to conversing with the wisest minds humanity has ever produced. It was a rigorous, demanding exercise meant to stretch our understanding, challenge our assumptions, and elevate our spirits. In our modern world, we're constantly bombarded with information, with fleeting headlines and endless feeds. We scroll, we skim, we consume bite-sized pieces of content that offer momentary entertainment but rarely true sustenance. Compare that with the deep, sustained engagement required by a classic text, a work like the Confessions To truly grasp Augustine, to wrestle with his struggles, to understand his complex theological arguments, demands focus, patience, and a willingness to sit with difficult ideas. The stark contrast to the endless, often mindless, scroll of social media, where instant gratification reigns supreme and depth is a rare commodity. Thoreau urged us to be discerning in our literary choices. He didn't believe in wasting precious time on trivialities. Instead, he passionately advocated that we should read the best books first, the foundational texts, the timeless classics that have stood the test of time precisely because they offer enduring insights into the human condition. Why settle for intellectual junk food when a feast of wisdom awaits? These are the books that don't just entertain, they educate, they inspire, they transform. So, how do we integrate this Thoreauvian wisdom into our own lives? It means setting aside intentional device-free time for reading. It means creating a sanctuary for your mind away from the pings and notifications, a space where you can truly immerse yourself in the world the author has created. Pick up *The Confessions* or another profound work and give it the attention it deserves. Let its words resonate, challenge, and ultimately build you. Consider this: what book has truly changed the way you think? What masterpiece has reshaped your understanding of yourself, of the world, or of your place within it? I encourage you to seek out those books and to engage with them, not merely as a reader, but as an active participant in an ongoing dialogue with the greatest minds of history. Welcome to Chapter 4, Sounds and Tuning Out the Noise. As we continue our exploration of the Confessions*, let us pause, take a deep breath, and allow ourselves to truly listen. For this section, I invite you to settle into a space where you can absorb the gentle hush of nature, the soft rustle of leaves, the distant call of a bird, perhaps the steady rhythm of rain. These are the sounds that ground us, that remind us of a world beyond human manufacture, a world that demands a different kind of attention. Henry David Thoreau, retreating to Walden Pond, didn't just escape society, he tuned into a different symphony. He meticulously documented the world of sound around him, not as a passive observer, but as an active listener. He described the solemn yet haunting hoot of an owl cutting through the night, a sound both primal and comforting. He noted the subtle groans and sharp cracks of ice on the pond's surface, each a unique note in nature's composition, signaling the changing seasons. And yes, even the mournful whistle of a distant train, a fleeting reminder of the world he had temporarily left behind, became part of his profound contemplation. Thoreau made a deliberate choice to hear deeply, to truly perceive the auditory tapestry of his surroundings. Now, contrast this profound attentiveness with our contemporary soundscape. Our lives are often a relentless bombardment, a cacophony of digital pings and buzzes from notifications, the ceaseless churn of 24/7 news cycles demanding our attention, and the insidious whispers of advertising subtly shaping our desires and anxieties. This constant external clamor doesn't just distract us, it fragments our attention, muddles our thoughts, and makes it incredibly difficult to find genuine internal quietude. This is our modern noise pollution. Augustine, in his own tumultuous journey, wrestled with external temptations and societal pressures, but his ultimate salvation lay in turning inward, in quieting the external din to hear the voice of God, or indeed the deepest truths of his own conscience. His quest was an exercise in profound self-reflection, a practice almost impossible when our minds are constantly being pulled in 1,000 directions by external noise. This brings us to the concept of a sound diet. Just as we mindfully choose what we consume physically, we can also be intentional about our auditory input. It means consciously carving out moments of silence each day, turning off the television, muting our phones, closing down the endless tabs that compete for our attention. It could be as simple as a few minutes spent listening to the rain, or perhaps a dedicated period of silent meditation, allowing only the natural sounds around us to enter our awareness. The goal is not merely to escape unpleasant noise, but to create space. Space for our own thoughts to emerge without interruption. Space for the quiet wisdom of our intuition to surface. In the silence, we often discover what truly matters, what is truly bothering us, or what insights have been waiting patiently beneath the surface of our awareness. It is in this stillness that we can begin to untangle the threads of our own minds, much like Augustine untangled his own complex spiritual journey. So I encourage you, as we move forward, to actively seek out and cherish these moments of quiet, to intentionally tune out the clamor, and to attune yourself to the more subtle, yet profoundly powerful sounds of nature and your own internal landscape. For in this deliberate listening, we don't just find peace, we find clarity, connection, and a deeper understanding of ourselves and our place in the world. Chapter 5, Solitude and the Art of Being Alone. Augustine's journey at its heart is one of deep introspection and searching. He grapples with his desires, his past, and his purpose, often in moments of profound self-reflection, which are in essence encounters with solitude. It's a space he both flees from and eventually embraces, leading to his transformative confessions. Today, however, we often view solitude with apprehension, perhaps even dread. We live in an age of unprecedented connectivity where every spare moment seems to demand interaction, validation, or distraction. Our phones, our social feeds, our endless streaming options, they all conspire to keep us perpetually occupied, rarely truly alone with our own thoughts. Yet, it is precisely in this quiet space that profound self-discovery can occur. The American essayist Henry David Thoreau, a master of intentional living and reflection, understood this deeply. He famously declared, "I never found the companion that was so companionable as solitude." What a remarkable statement in our current landscape, where being alone often conjures images of isolation or punishment. We've cultivated a pervasive fear of being by ourselves, a discomfort with silence that we rush to fill with noise. This constant need for external validation, for the likes, the comments, the endless stream of notifications, erodes our capacity for introspection and peace. We mistake being asterisk with asterisk others for being asterisk connected asterisk, and often we mistake being asterisk alone asterisk for being asterisk lonely asterisk. But there's a crucial distinction to be made here, one that Thoreau and indeed Augustine in his own spiritual wilderness intuitively understood. Loneliness is a painful lack, an unwanted state of separation, a yearning for connection that isn't present. It's an emptiness, a void that aches. Solitude, however, is an entirely different creature. Solitude is a chosen state, a joyful presence, a deliberate engagement with oneself. It is not an absence of company, but rather an opportunity for the most profound company of all your own. It's a fertile ground for creativity, for deeper connection with your inner self, for listening to the quiet whispers of intuition drowned out by the world's clamor. It's the space where we can truly hear ourselves think, feel, and ultimately grow. To reclaim solitude's transformative power, we needn't retreat to a cabin in the woods like Thoreau, at least not initially. We can begin small by consciously carving out what I like to call dates with yourself. Start with just 10 or 15 minutes. It could be sipping your morning coffee without scrolling, taking a walk without headphones, or simply sitting in a quiet room observing your thoughts without judgment. Crucially, leave your phone behind. Resist the urge to fill the silence, to seek external input. Allow yourself to simply be asterisk. These small, deliberate acts of solitude are not about isolating yourself from the world, but about connecting more deeply with the world asterisk within asterisk you. They are not a punishment, but a gift, a necessary and welcome space for self-discovery, for nurturing your creative spirit, and for forging a deeper, more authentic connection with yourself and ultimately with the divine. Embrace this art of being alone, and you will discover a rich, vibrant inner world waiting to be explored. Welcome to Chapter 6, Visitors and the Quality of Your Company. While our journey primarily navigates Augustine's profound confessions, today we pause to explore a timeless aspect of human experience vital to any path of self-discovery: the quality of our social interactions. We turn to another astute observer of human nature, Henry David Thoreau, and his distinct perspective on company. Living by Walden Pond, Thoreau was not a complete recluse, but he was incredibly discerning about who he welcomed and the nature of those interactions. He cherished encounters that offered genuine intellectual exchange, stimulating conversation, or a shared quiet understanding. These were the visitors who, he felt, truly added asterisk to his solitude, enhancing it rather than disrupting it. They were sources of mutual growth, individuals with whom he could delve into philosophy, nature, or the deeper questions of existence. Conversely, Thoreau found superficial chatter, idle gossip, or social calls devoid of substance to be immensely tiresome. He wasn't interested in merely filling time with pleasantries or maintaining a wide network for its own sake. For him, such interactions were not merely neutral, they actively drained his energy and time, pulling him away from what he considered more meaningful pursuits. He valued his solitude too highly to squander it on connections that didn't genuinely nourish his spirit or intellect. Now, let's bring Thoreau's wisdom into our own hyper-connected 21st century. While few of us can retreat to a cabin in the woods, his principles resonate deeply with the modern challenge of conscious living. Think about your own social circle. Are you consciously curating it? This isn't about exclusivity, it's about intentionality. Just as Thoreau chose his physical visitors, we too have the power to choose who we spend our precious time and energy with. This principle extends powerfully to our digital lives. Our social media feeds, the online communities we engage with, the content we consume, these are all forms of company. Are your digital feeds inspiring and informative, or are they a constant stream of noise, comparison, and triviality? Are you actively curating these spaces to reflect your values and support your growth? Or are you passively allowing them to dictate your mood and attention? Thoreau's philosophy isn't a call to isolation, but rather an urgent plea for quality over quantity. It advocates for prioritizing fewer but deeper, more meaningful conversations and connections. Imagine the richness of a handful of truly profound exchanges compared to a multitude of superficial pleasantries. The former nourishes your soul, sparks new ideas, and builds genuine bonds. The latter often leaves you feeling hollow or worse, unseen. So as we reflect on the quality of our own company, whether in person or online, I want to ask you a crucial question, one that can profoundly shift your experience. Who in your life, right now, leaves you feeling energized, uplifted, and more fully yourself? And conversely, who or what consistently leaves you feeling drained, diminished, or simply weary? Identifying these dynamics is the first step towards consciously cultivating a life rich with truly valuable connections, much as Augustine sought spiritual clarity by discerning the influences around him. In the expansive narrative of human experience, particularly as explored in *The Confessions*, we often seek meaning in grand theological debates or profound internal struggles. Yet sometimes the deepest spiritual and philosophical lessons are unearthed not in hallowed halls, but in the humble earth beneath our feet, through the rhythm of simple manual labor. Consider Henry David Thoreau, who, in his iconic work *Walden*, dedicates significant reflection to his bean field. It was more than just a plot of land for sustenance, it was his outdoor university, his laboratory for self-discovery. He recounts the arduous toil of planting, hoeing, and weeding, describing how he hoed beans and corn from sunrise till noon and felt a kinship with the soil and the life it sustained. Thoreau wasn't merely growing food, he was cultivating a relationship with the earth, learning self-reliance and observing the intricate dance of nature. He discovered that the physical effort cleared his mind, sharpening his senses and deepening his appreciation for simplicity. His harvest wasn't just beans, but wisdom gleaned from direct, unmediated engagement with the world. This profound connection to the physical, to the act of creation, echoes strongly in our contemporary world. Despite our increasing reliance on digital interfaces and abstract labor, there's a powerful resurgence of interest in tangible skills. Think of the booming popularity of home gardening, the artisan sourdough movement, the renewed passion for woodworking, pottery, or even knitting. This isn't just a trend, it's a yearning for authenticity, a desire to reconnect with something real and immediate in a world saturated with the virtual. There's an undeniable satisfaction that comes from creating something with your own hands. Unlike the often invisible outcomes of many modern professions, manual labor offers a palpable result. A freshly baked loaf of bread, a sturdy garden bed, a hand-carved spoon. This tangible output fosters a unique sense of accomplishment and competence. It grounds us, reminding us of our fundamental capacity to shape our environment, to bring something new into existence through our effort and skill. This kind of work doesn't just build external objects, it rebuilds our internal sense of capability and self-worth. Perhaps most profoundly, focused physical work possesses a powerful meditative quality. The repetitive motions kneading dough, pushing a plane across wood, or the rhythmic swing of a hoe can lull the mind into a state of active contemplation. Distractions fall away as attention narrows to the texture of the soil, the scent of fresh wood, the feel of dough beneath your fingers. This isn't passive meditation, it's an engaged presence, a mindful dance with matter. In this flow state, insights can arise, problems can untangle themselves, and a profound sense of inner peace can settle, much like the quiet satisfaction Thoreau found amongst his bean rows. It's a powerful reminder that wisdom isn't always found in books or sermons, but sometimes in the silent spiritual dialogue between humanity and the earth. Welcome to Chapter 8, The Village and Keeping a Healthy Distance. As we navigate Augustine's profound journey of self-discovery and his relentless quest for truth, we find ourselves confronted by the perennial challenge of engaging with the world without becoming entirely consumed by its tides. This chapter explores the invaluable practice of being an observer of society rather than a mindless participant, the art of maintaining a critical distance essential for preserving one's own integrity and thoughts. Think for a moment of Henry David Thoreau, that great American transcendentalist. He was no hermit entirely withdrawn from human contact. Far from it, Thoreau would often make his way from his cabin by Walden Pond into Concord Village. He wasn't going there to join every debate or endorse every fad, but rather, as he put it, to hear the gossip. He sought to understand the pulse of his community, to discern the prevailing currents of thought and daily life, all while consciously keeping a detachment. He listened, he observed, he collected information, but he did not allow himself to be swept up and defined by the chatter. He maintained an internal space, a sanctuary for independent thought. This practice, nearly 2 centuries old, resonates powerfully with our contemporary lives. Today, our village is global, instantaneous, and often overwhelming. We are bombarded by news cycles that demand constant attention, social media feeds that buzz with endless opinions, and algorithms designed to pull us deeper into echo chambers. Like Thoreau, we are called to be informed, to understand the world around us, but crucially, without becoming overwhelmed or emotionally manipulated by it. We need to consume news and engage with social media not as mindless sponges, but as critical filters, discerning what is valuable from what is mere noise. There's an immense pressure in our modern landscape to have an immediate opinion on everything, to react instantly, to join the digital chorus without a moment for reflection. A breaking headline, a viral tweet, a new cultural debate, the expectation often feels like we must take a side, articulate a stance, or risk being perceived as disengaged or, worse, uninformed. This rapid-fire engagement leaves little room for contemplation, for the quiet process of intellectual digestion that allows true understanding to form. It can erode our ability to think independently, substituting genuine insight for knee-jerk reactions derived from the loudest voices in the room. But Augustine, in his own journey, understood the profound necessity of stepping back, of retreating to the inner chamber of the mind to truly wrestle with ideas and forge convictions. It is precisely away from the clamor of the crowd, away from the immediate pressure to conform or react, that we can form our own conclusions. This critical distance allows us to evaluate information, challenge assumptions, and develop a perspective that is genuinely our own, rooted in integrity rather than popular consensus. It's about valuing our internal landscape as much as, if not more than, the external one. By doing so, we safeguard our intellectual and spiritual independence, much like Augustine sought clarity and truth amidst the conflicting philosophies and worldly distractions of his time. This healthy distance isn't about apathy, it's about conscious engagement, protecting the sanctity of our own thought. Welcome back to our journey through Augustine's Confessions. In this chapter, The Ponds and Nature as a Mirror, we turn our gaze outward, yet ultimately inward. Augustine's profound introspection, his relentless quest for truth and understanding, wasn't confined to the pages of his mind. Often our deepest insights emerge when we allow the natural world to reflect our inner landscape, a practice as ancient as contemplation itself. Consider the tranquil image of a clear pond. Think of Walden Pond, celebrated not just for its physical presence, but for its startling clarity and profound depth. Thoreau saw it not merely as a body of water, but as a symbol of a mind purified, clear of the murk of worldly distractions, capable of holding immense truth within its depths. This image resonates deeply with Augustine's own pursuit of a pure heart and a transparent understanding of God and self. He wrestled with his own impurities, seeking to clarify the waters of his soul, much like a pond after a storm settling into serene lucidity. He too yearned for that deep, unclouded gaze into the truths of existence. Spending time immersed in nature offers a unique path to self-understanding. When we quiet the external noise and simply observe, the world around us often mirrors our own inner state, or conversely offers the peace and perspective we desperately seek. The vastness of the sky can humble us, the persistence of a river can inspire us, and the steadfastness of a tree can ground us. Augustine, in his own philosophical wanderings, often sought quiet spaces for contemplation, places where the clamor of Carthage or Milan could recede, allowing the voice of God and his own conscience to be heard more clearly. It was in such moments of quiet reflection that he truly began to confess the truth of himself and his Creator. Imagine observing such a pond through the cycle of a year. In spring, the surface shimmers with new life, reflecting budding leaves, mirroring the nascent hope in a soul beginning its spiritual journey. As summer deepens, the water holds the sun's warmth, teeming with activity, a busy mind absorbed in the world's fullness, perhaps even the fervor of a newly awakened faith. Then, as autumn paints the trees in hues of fiery surrender, fallen leaves drift gracefully, settling into the cool depths, much like our own memories and experiences, eventually finding their place in the quiet reservoirs of consciousness, allowing us to process and learn. And in winter, the pond's surface stills, perhaps freezing over, presenting a solid reflective sheet, a period of quiet introspection, of holding fast to what lies beneath, awaiting the thaw. Each season offers a distinct reflection, a lesson in impermanence and endurance, mirroring the ever-changing landscape of our own spiritual progression, much like Augustine's lifelong journey of conversion and deepening faith. Just as Augustine sought his own quiet places for communion with God, we too can find our personal Walden. It doesn't have to be a wilderness retreat. It could be a local park bench, a winding river path, a small patch of garden, or even the quiet resilience of a houseplant on your windowsill. What matters is the intention to pause, to observe, and to allow the simplicity and truth of nature to reveal something about your own inner journey. Let these natural mirrors offer clarity, depth, and a moment of pure reflection in your own unfolding story, helping you to see yourself, and perhaps the divine, a little more clearly. In the quiet solitude of Walden Pond, Henry David Thoreau found companionship not just in the rustling leaves, but in what he called his brute neighbors, the myriad creatures sharing his wild domain. He approached them with a profound, almost spiritual curiosity, seeking to understand their intricate lives and, through them, perhaps our own. Picture this: a warm summer's day, Thoreau stumbles upon a sight that grips him instantly. On a sun-drenched patch of ground, two armies clash, not of men but of ants. He described it with vivid intensity, an epic battle of Homeric proportions. I was an impartial spectator, he wrote, for the Red Republicans on the one hand and the Black Imperialists on the other. He watched spellbound as individual soldiers grappled, biting and tearing, locked in mortal combat. He saw a red ant larger engaged in a desperate duel with two black ones, his leg torn off. Another, dismembered, fought on until its last breath. The ground became a miniature battlefield strewn with the dead and dying. Thoreau, observing this brutal instinctive conflict, felt it was a human war reduced in scale but not in ferocity or ultimate meaning. It was a stark, dramatic lesson in raw survival. But what did Thoreau truly learn? Crucially, he didn't just project human drama onto these tiny creatures. While he used human military metaphors, he understood he was witnessing something fundamentally other. The wisdom lies in observing non-human life without anthropomorphism, without attributing our complex emotions or morality to them. It's tempting to humanize, but Thoreau strove to see them for what they were: beings driven by primal instinct, by the unyielding laws of their species. By resisting that urge, he allowed their true nature, their stark reality, to speak for itself. This respect for their distinct being opens a door to deeper understanding, not just of the ants, but of life's fundamental forces. This pure, unadulterated observation, free from projection and judgment, is a powerful form of mindfulness. It demands being fully present, silencing the internal monologue that constantly interprets. It requires us to shed our human-centric worldview, even for a few moments, and simply perceive. When we truly watch an animal without distraction or agenda, we are forced into the immediate now. We become acutely aware of our environment, of the delicate balance and raw power at play. It's a humbling experience, reminding us of our interconnectedness with all life and our own place within the grand, awe-inspiring tapestry of the natural world. It allows us to glimpse the wisdom of instinct, the elegance of adaptation, and the relentless drive to survive that permeates every living thing. So I challenge you, find a brute neighbor today. It could be a bird, a squirrel, or even a fly on a window pane. For just 5 minutes, set a timer if needed. Simply watch it, without distraction, without your phone or internal commentary. Don't try to name its feelings or guess its thoughts. Just observe its movements, interactions, its sheer presence. What patterns emerge? What quiet truths does it reveal about instinct, survival, its very existence? Let its natural being speak to you, unburdened by your projections, and discover the profound mindfulness that comes from truly being present with another living creature. You might be surprised by what you learn, not just about them, but about yourself and your place in this incredible world. Welcome back to our journey through St. Augustine's Confessions. In this 11th chapter, we confront perhaps the most fundamental human conflict, the internal struggle between our primal, animalistic urges and our higher spiritual aspirations for self-improvement. Augustine grappled with this constantly, often torn between fleeting fleshly pleasures and the call of a more divine, purposeful existence. It's a battle as old as humanity, resonating deeply within each of us today. To better grasp this ancient tug-of-war, let's consider Henry David Thoreau. Living simply at Walden Pond, Thoreau explored diet, cleanliness, and self-control, not as ends, but as pathways to spiritual and intellectual clarity. He advocated for a life stripped of excess, believing that by mastering our basic needs and impulses, we could free our minds to contemplate higher truths. For Thoreau, abstaining from meat, maintaining tidiness, and resisting superficial desires weren't about puritanical denial, but about cultivating fertile ground for thought and self-discovery. Now let's translate Thoreau's insights to our modern landscape. Our primal urges persist, finding new expressions. Instead of wild game, we face fast food and ultra-processed snacks. Instead of natural elements, we grapple with constant digital clamor and endless scrolling. Indulgence today manifests as binge-watching, mindless consumption, and insidious addictions from sugar to social media. These modern struggles with instant gratification and dopamine hits mirror Augustine's own battle against gluttony, lust, and worldly ambition. We are constantly tempted to surrender to comfort, sacrificing long-term well-being and spiritual growth for immediate fleeting satisfaction. The core idea is disciplining the body to elevate the mind. This isn't about hating our physical selves or embracing joyless asceticism. Rather, it's about recognizing that our bodies are instruments performing best when cared for and tuned. By consciously choosing healthier diets, establishing routines for hygiene, and exercising self-control, we aren't denying ourselves pleasure, but redirecting energy. We free our minds from the constant demands of a body overstimulated or neglected, allowing for deeper thought, greater focus, and clearer connection to our spiritual selves. This is a journey of self-mastery, not joyless self-denial. It's about finding true freedom not in unrestrained indulgence, but in the power to choose. It's about consciously shaping habits and desires to align with our highest values. When we learn to say no to the fleeting and superficial, we open ourselves to deeper, more profound joys, clarity, purpose, genuine connection, and spiritual peace. It's a path to integrity where actions align with intentions, and our inner world finds harmony with outward pursuits. In mastering the self, we find liberation far more enriching than any temporary pleasure. Welcome back. As we delve deeper into Augustine's profound journey, we arrive at a chapter that, while not explicitly titled as such within the Confessions resonates with a theme so vital for modern life, it demands our full attention. This is chapter 12, Simplicity. While Augustine himself didn't utter these exact words, The essence of his transformative path, his turning away from worldly complexities towards a singular divine truth, is perfectly captured by a timeless observation. Let us consider the famous words of Henry David Thoreau: "Our life is frittered away by detailed simplicity, simplicity, simplicity," though penned centuries later by another seeker of truth. These words perfectly encapsulate a profound lesson we draw from Augustine's Confessions. His entire struggle was one of disentanglement from ambition, from carnal desires, from intellectual pride, from the endless clamor of worldly concerns. He sought a freedom that only comes from shedding the unnecessary, from simplifying his focus to gain unparalleled clarity and purpose, ultimately directed towards God. This isn't merely an ancient philosophical concept, it's a blueprint for unparalleled freedom in our hyper-connected, overstimulated modern world. Think about how this connects to contemporary movements like minimalism, where individuals intentionally reduce their possessions to increase well-being and freedom, or the growing trend of digital decluttering, where we reclaim our attention from the incessant demands of our screens. Augustine's journey encourages us to look inward and ask, what details are frittering away my life? What can I shed to gain more space for what truly matters? Practically speaking, this could manifest in simple, actionable ways. It might mean unsubscribing from dozens of email newsletters that only clutter your inbox and distract your focus. It could involve simplifying your wardrobe, creating a capsule collection that removes decision fatigue and frees up mental energy. Perhaps most powerful, it means learning the art of saying no to commitments that don't align with your deepest values, no to obligations that drain your spirit, and no to the constant pressure to accumulate more, do more, be more, when what you truly crave is simply being. The profound gift that emerges from this intentional simplification is an immeasurable mental peace. Imagine having less to manage, fewer things to fix, fewer worries about upkeep or acquisition. This reduction in external demands creates an expansive inner landscape, a spaciousness where clarity can blossom, where purpose can take root, and where your true self can flourish, unburdened by the noise and demands of an overly complicated life. Augustine found his peace in turning solely to God, but the method, the radical simplification of his inner and outer life, is a universal principle for profound liberation. Welcome back. As we delve deeper into Augustine's profound journey, we arrive at a chapter that, while not explicitly titled as such within the Confessions resonates with a theme so vital for modern life it demands our full attention. This is chapter 12, Simplicity, Simplicity, Simplicity. While Augustine himself didn't utter these exact words, the essence of his transformative path, his turning away from worldly complexities towards a singular divine truth, is perfectly captured by a timeless observation. Let us consider the famous words of Henry David Thoreau: "Our life is frittered away by detailed simplicity, simplicity, simplicity." Though penned centuries later by another seeker of truth, these words perfectly encapsulate a profound lesson we draw from Augustine's Confessions. His entire struggle was one of disentanglement from ambition, from carnal desires, from intellectual pride, from the endless clamor of worldly concerns. He sought a freedom that only comes from shedding the unnecessary, from simplifying his focus to gain unparalleled clarity and purpose, ultimately directed towards God. This isn't merely an ancient philosophical concept, it's a blueprint for unparalleled freedom in our hyper-connected, overstimulated modern world. Think about how this connects to contemporary movements like minimalism, where individuals intentionally reduce their possessions to increase well-being and freedom, or the growing trend of digital decluttering, where we reclaim our attention from the incessant demands of our screens. Augustine's journey encourages us to look inward and ask, what details are frittering away my life? What can I shed to gain more space for what truly matters? Practically speaking, this could manifest in simple, actionable ways. It might mean unsubscribing from dozens of email newsletters that only clutter your inbox and distract your focus. It could involve simplifying your wardrobe, creating a capsule collection that removes decision fatigue and frees up mental energy. Perhaps most powerfully, it means learning the art of saying no to commitments that don't align with your deepest values, no to obligations that drain your spirit, and no to the constant pressure to accumulate more, do more, be more, when what you truly crave is simply being asterisk. The profound gift that emerges from this intentional simplification is an immeasurable mental peace. Imagine having less to manage, fewer things to fix, fewer worries about upkeep or acquisition. This reduction in external demands creates an expansive inner landscape, a spa. Welcome to Chapter 13, Marching to Your Own Drummer. In this segment of our exploration into St. Augustine's profound confessions, we turn our attention not just to Augustine's journey, but to the universal courage required to forge your own path in life, regardless of societal expectations or the often overwhelming pressure to conform. Augustine's own life, a dramatic pivot from a brilliant, worldly rhetorician to a humble bishop and theologian, is a testament to the power of following an inner call, even when it means breaking from everything familiar. His story reminds us of the timeless wisdom captured by Henry David Thoreau, who eloquently wrote, "If a man does not keep pace with his companions, perhaps it is because he hears a different drummer. Let him step to the music which he hears, however measured or far away." This isn't just a poetic sentiment, it's an invitation to introspection, a challenge to discern whether the rhythm guiding your steps is truly your own or merely an echo of those around you. The impulse to conform is deeply ingrained in us. From childhood, we're taught the comfort of belonging, the safety in numbers. To be different often feels like a vulnerability, an invitation for judgment or isolation. This fear of standing out is powerful, and the comfort of conformity, while initially reassuring, can be deeply deceptive. It promises acceptance but often delivers an unfulfilled life, a quiet resignation to a path not truly chosen. Augustine in his early years wrestled with these very forces, the intellectual trends of his time, the allure of Manichaeism, the expectations of his career and social standing. His eventual transformation was precisely an act of stepping to a different divine drummer. Yet history is replete with individuals who, by tuning into their unique inner music, have not only found personal fulfillment but have also profoundly reshaped our world. Consider figures like Steve Jobs who, despite fierce market pressures and conventional business wisdom, in consciousness where clarity can blossom, where purpose can take root, and where your true self can flourish, unburdened by the noise and demands of an overly complicated life. Augustine found his peace in turning solely to God, but the method, the radical simplification of his inner and outer life, is a universal principle for profound liberation. Welcome to Chapter 14, Why He Left the Woods. For many, Henry David Thoreau's 2 years at Walden Pond conjure images of an isolated sage, a man who fled society to live a life apart. Yet misunderstanding why Thoreau ultimately left the woods is to miss perhaps the most profound lesson of his entire experiment. The Walden experience, as profound as it was never meant to be a permanent retreat. It was a chapter, not the whole book. The true challenge, and indeed the true goal, was always about applying the lessons learned back in the real world, not escaping it forever. Thoreau himself articulated this beautifully when he explained his departure, saying, "Perhaps it seemed to me that I had several more lives to live and could not spare any more time for that one." This wasn't a rejection of Walden, but an acknowledgement of life's boundless possibilities and his own evolving journey. He hadn't failed at living simply, he had mastered it, internalized its principles, and was now ready to bring that wisdom to new experiences. It's a persistent myth that Thoreau was a hermit, a misanthrope who hated people. While he certainly valued solitude, his cabin was less than 2 miles from Concord, and he often entertained visitors, dined with friends, and engaged in local community life. He simply chose to live deliberately, to strip away the unnecessary complexities that often clutter our existence and distract us from what truly matters. His aim wasn't to shun humanity, but to live more deeply within it. The most crucial takeaway from Thoreau's journey is that Walden is not merely a physical place you can visit or a particular cabin in the woods. It is fundamentally a mindset. It's a philosophy of intentionality, simplicity, and deliberation that can be practiced anywhere, in a bustling city apartment, a suburban home, or yes, even in the heart of our modern, demanding lives. We don't need to pack up and move to a cabin to embrace the spirit of Walden. The real goal for us then is not to replicate Thoreau's exact experiment, but to integrate his profound insights into our existing lives. How can we simplify our routines, choose our expenditures more wisely, cultivate deeper connections, and carve out moments for reflection and self-discovery right where we are? It's about finding our own Walden, not escaping the world, but enriching our experience within it. Thoreau showed us that deliberate living is not a utopian fantasy, but an accessible practice, a path to genuine freedom and purpose. His departure from the woods signaled the successful completion of one phase and the commencement of another, living out his discovered truths in the wider world, a challenge that remains as relevant today as it was in his time. Augustine's Confessions meticulously charts an internal odyssey, a struggle for truth and moral alignment within himself. But what happens when that deeply cultivated personal philosophy, that refined sense of justice and divine law confronts the imperfect, often unjust laws of humanity? How does an individual, having found a measure of truth within, respond to the external world's failings? This is where the profound insights of personal philosophy begin to touch the realm of the political, leading us to one of history's most radical propositions regarding civic duty. It was an American transcendentalist, Henry David Thoreau, who articulated this transition most famously in his essay, Civil Disobedience. While generations removed from Augustine, Thoreau's insistence on the primacy of individual conscience echoes a similar journey towards moral clarity, albeit applied to the state rather than solely the self. Thoreau lived in a time of profound moral crisis for the United States. He was a fierce opponent of slavery, viewing it as an abhorrent violation of fundamental human rights. He also vehemently protested the Mexican-American War, perceiving it as an unjust act of aggression driven by expansionism and the desire to extend slave territories. For Thoreau, these were not abstract political debates. They were moral abominations that demanded a response from every conscientious citizen. His conviction was not merely intellectual, it was a call to action. In 1846, as a protest against these very injustices, Thoreau refused to pay his poll tax. It was a small sum, yet for him, it represented an implicit endorsement of a government engaged in immoral acts. He spent a night in jail for this act of defiance, famously recounting later, "Under a government which imprisons any unjustly, the true place for a just man is also a prison." This simple act and the essay it inspired laid bare the core concept of civil disobedience, the unwavering priority of individual conscience over the demands of the state. Thoreau argued that one has a moral obligation to resist injustice, even if that resistance means breaking a human law. If a law is unjust, if it compels you to be an agent of injustice, then a truly just person, he contended, has not only the right, but the duty to break it. It's a radical inversion of traditional civic duty, asserting that loyalty to one's higher moral principles trumps loyalty to the state when the two conflict. In our own complex world, where ethical dilemmas abound and the lines between right and wrong can often blur, Thoreau's philosophy remains profoundly relevant. It challenges us to move beyond passive acceptance, urging us to cultivate our own moral compass, to question authority when necessary, and to embody our convictions through principled resistance. It transforms civic duty from mere obedience into an active, morally charged responsibility to ensure that the laws of man align as much as possible with the dictates of justice and individual conscience, a journey that in its own way resonates with Augustine's lifelong quest for truth and moral rectitude. Welcome to Chapter 16, The Unjust Machine. Throughout Augustine's Confessions, we witness his agonizing struggle with justice, personal responsibility, and the moral demands of faith. While Augustine grappled with the injustices of his own life and the societal structures around him, another profound thinker, Henry David Thoreau, offered a vivid and often uncomfortable metaphor for how we engage with institutionalized injustice. Thoreau famously conceived of government, or any large institution, as a machine designed to function, to produce outcomes, but one that, at times, can produce profound injustice. In his seminal essay, Civil Disobedience, Thoreau challenges us directly on our role when that machine goes awry. He writes, and I quote, "If it requires you to be the agent of injustice to another, then, I say, break the law." This isn't a call for chaos, but a profound moral imperative. Thoreau isn't suggesting we break laws for personal gain or mere inconvenience, but when the very act of obeying a law or participating in a system forces us to become complicit in harm against another. It's a direct challenge to our conscience. This brings us to the crucial distinction between passive acceptance and becoming an active counter-friction. Most of us perhaps unconsciously allow the machinery of society to carry us along. We might grumble about its flaws, but we rarely step in to jam its gears. Thoreau's genius lies in identifying that our moral duty isn't just to not commit injustice ourselves, but to not enable it. When the machine grinds out injustice, simply standing by means we are, in a sense, a silent cog in its operation. To be counter-friction is to actively resist, to apply moral pressure that slows, stops, or even reroutes the machine's destructive path. It's to be the force that pushes back against the system, not out of malice, but out of a profound commitment to justice and human dignity. History provides powerful illustrations of this principle put into practice. Mahatma Gandhi, deeply inspired by Thoreau, employed nonviolent civil disobedience to dismantle oppressive colonial rule, refusing to participate in laws that dehumanized his people. Decades later, Martin Luther King Jr. galvanized the American civil rights movement, deliberately breaking unjust segregation laws, knowing full well the personal cost, but understanding the moral imperative to be a counter-friction against a system built on racial prejudice. Both recognize that true peace often demands an active refusal to cooperate with injustice, even at great personal sacrifice and risk. Now, as we reflect on these powerful ideas, I invite you to turn your gaze inward, much like Augustine did throughout his Confessions. Consider what modern injustices you currently tolerate, or perhaps even unknowingly participate in, by virtue of your silence or inaction. Are there systems, policies, or cultural norms in your own world that, if you truly examine them, require you to be an agent of injustice in some small or large way? What are the implications of choosing passive acceptance over becoming a source of counter-friction in your own sphere? This isn't necessarily about grand public gestures, but about personal integrity and the daily choices that define our moral landscape and our character. Thoreau, much like Augustine, compels us to confront our conscience honestly and deeply. He asks us to weigh the comfort of conformity against the demand for righteousness. The machine, whether it be government, a corporation, or a societal norm, will continue to run unless conscious beings choose to intervene, to apply that necessary counter-friction when its output is suffering and inequity. Your moral compass, like Augustine's, is your ultimate guide in navigating these complex demands. Welcome to Chapter 17, Why Voting is Not Enough. Following Augustine's personal quest for moral integrity, we examine Henry David Thoreau's compelling critique of civic duty. He challenges us to look beyond mere political participation, arguing true moral action extends significantly beyond the ballot box. Thoreau speaks to the feeling that a vote alone isn't enough for profound injustices, advocating for a deeper, conscientious commitment to one's principles. Thoreau famously declared voting a sort of gaming, a playing with right and wrong, with moral questions, and betting naturally accompanies it. For him, a vote was a passive expression, not a powerful declaration. He saw it as outsourcing moral responsibility, abdicating conscience to the majority. When you vote, you hope for an outcome, but aren't personally committed to ensure it. You're betting on others, absolving yourself if the system fails. Thoreau firmly believed conscience cannot be outsourced, nor moral duty fulfilled by merely dropping a paper into a box. This perspective starkly contrasts with modern emphasis on voting as the primary, often sole civic act. Today, voting is frequently presented as the ultimate democratic expression, a sacred right and undeniable duty. Campaigns urge turnout, implying abstaining forfeits the right to complain. While voting's importance is clear, this framing risks complacency. Citizens might believe a ballot fulfills their civic duties for the cycle, leaving a void where continuous engagement should thrive. This narrow focus reduces moral citizenship to a periodic event, diminishing individual conscience. Thoreau called for dynamic, continuous engagement of conscience, a life where principles are actively embodied. Today, this translates into direct actions beyond the polling booth. consider ethical consumerism, supporting aligned businesses, boycotting unethical ones. Think local activism, volunteering, attending town halls, organizing grassroots movements for immediate injustices. Boycotts, historically potent, apply economic pressure. And fundamentally, it's speaking out, using your voice in conversations, social media, workplaces, or public forums to articulate convictions and challenge injustice. These aren't supplementary for Thoreau, they are the embodiment of principled existence, driven by an unwavering moral compass. Ultimately, Thoreau's message isn't to dismiss voting but to elevate citizenship. He calls for a life of consistent principle, vigilant commitment to justice and integrity far beyond a periodic trip to the ballot box. It's embodying values in daily decisions, actively shaping the world through conscious choices and courageous actions, refusing to outsource conscience to any system or party. It's living every day as if your principles truly matter, because they do. Welcome back to the Confessions of St. Augustine. In Chapter 18, we explore a profound and challenging aspect of Augustine's journey and of human existence, the ultimate power and moral authority stemming from aligning one's actions with conscience, even when you stand alone. Augustine's path often saw his inner truth clash with societal norms, peer pressure, or ingrained habits. It's in these moments we recognize the weight of individual conscience. Consider Thoreau's powerful assertion, "Any man more right than his neighbors constitutes a majority of one already." This isn't just a philosophical observation, it's a profound declaration of moral sovereignty. The psychological difficulty of standing alone for what you believe is right cannot be overstated. The human desire for belonging, for acceptance, is immense. To defy the prevailing current, to voice an unpopular truth, to adhere to a principle when others have abandoned it, this demands immense courage. It means facing ridicule, isolation, or even persecution. Yet, in this moral steadfastness, integrity is forged. This commitment to one's inner compass, to what Augustine saw as God's truth within, is not merely important, it's bedrock for authentic selfhood and spiritual growth. This theme resonates powerfully with Henry David Thoreau and his exhortation to march to your own drummer. Just as Thoreau urged us to live deliberately, prioritizing inner truth over external conformity, Augustine's story testifies to the arduous but liberating process of disentangling oneself from external dictates and heeding the unique rhythm of one's own conscience. It's about finding the courage to listen to that inner voice even when it whispers inconvenient, challenging, or singular truths. Ultimately, the lesson from Augustine, amplified by voices like Thoreau, is one of immense hope and empowerment. A single, committed individual aligned with conscience and steadfast in their pursuit of what is right possesses astonishing power. They become a beacon, a catalyst for change, a living testament to a different way. Their unwavering conviction has the potential to ripple outwards, inspire others, and reshape the world. The power of a minority of one is not just a concept, it is the engine of moral progress, echoing through history from saints to social reformers, demonstrating that one voice, firm in its truth, can ignite a revolution. We've delved into Augustine's Confessions, witnessing his profound journey of self-discovery and spiritual transformation. Now, it's your turn to make these timeless lessons tangible. While we call it the Thoreau Challenge for its practical, hands-on spirit, think of it as your personal 7-day Augustinian immersion, a framework for practical engagement. It's about cultivating an inner sanctuary, much like Augustine sought truth within. This isn't about escaping the world, but consciously engaging with it, fostering introspection, simplicity, and deliberate moral action in your daily life. Let's move from theory to truly lived experience. Our journey begins with simplicity, a core Augustinian theme for clearing the path to deeper understanding. For Stress Day 1 and 2, your task is to declutter. Choose one physical space, a messy drawer, a shelf, or a small cupboard, and systematically empty it, keeping only what genuinely serves a purpose or brings joy. Simultaneously tackle one digital space. Go through your phone app, deleting those you haven't used in months and organizing the rest into intuitive folders. This isn't just about tidiness. It's a tangible act of discerning true need from unnecessary accumulation, mirroring Augustine's shedding of worldly distractions. Moving into Seth's Day 3 and 4, we focus on connection to nature and connection to your inner self. Following Augustine's inward turning, seek stillness. First, find 30 minutes to spend in nature. This could be a local park, your garden, or even just sitting by a window observing the sky. Crucially, leave your phone behind. Simply observe, listen, and breathe. Then schedule one dedicated hour of true solitude. No distractions, no music, no screens, no books, just you and your thought. This creates space for introspection, for listening to the quiet stirrings of your own conscience, and for reflecting on where you are and where you wish to be. For Day 5 and 6, the theme is living deliberately, echoing Augustine's intense self-scrutiny and his eventual commitment to a life of purpose. Your first task is to track your time for one full day. Be honest, note down every activity: browsing, working, eating, scrolling. At the end of the day, review it. Where did your time truly go? This exercise helps you understand your life cost, where your most precious, finite resources invested. Next, perform one act of simple manual labor. Cook a meal entirely from scratch, mend something that's broken, clean a neglected area thoroughly, or even help a friend with a practical task. Engage your hands and mind in a task that yields a tangible result, grounding you in the present and in meaningful effort. Finally, Day 7, we arrive at acting with conscience, a direct call to the moral and ethical awakening so central to Augustine's Confessions. Identify one small injustice you tolerate in your daily life. This isn't about solving global issues, but about recognizing where your personal choices intersect with ethical considerations. Perhaps it's a purchasing habit that conflicts with your values, a default behavior you know isn't right, or a truth you've been hesitant to speak. Once identified, take one concrete step to address it. This could mean researching ethical alternatives for a product, consciously changing a habit, writing a thoughtful letter, or initiating a conversation. This final step transforms introspection into action, allowing you to live out the very principles Augustine wrestled with and ultimately embraced, aligning your will with a higher good, moving beyond mere contemplation to active, conscious living. Embrace this challenge and witness how profound wisdom can reshape the contours of your everyday existence. As we reach the culmination of our journey, let's distill the profound insights we've explored into 3 actionable pillars, forming the bedrock of a truly intentional and fulfilling life. These aren't just abstract ideas, they are practical guiding principles designed for immediate application, helping you navigate the complexities of modern existence with clarity and purpose. The first pillar is to simplify intentionally. This calls for a ruthless examination and elimination of the non-essential from every facet of your life. Think about your possessions. Do they serve a true purpose, or do they merely clutter your physical and mental space? Consider your commitments. Are you overstretched, scattering your energy across too many obligations that don't align with your deepest values? And in our hyper-connected world, reflect on digital noise, the endless notifications, the constant stream of information, the passive consumption that can drain your focus and time. By consciously shedding these layers of excess, you don't just create physical space, you liberate mental and emotional energy, making room for what genuinely matters: your passions, your relationships, your inner peace. It's about finding freedom not in accumulation, but in reduction. Our second pillar urges us to live deliberately. This means actively choosing your path rather than passively accepting the default settings imposed by society, tradition, or habit. It's a call to question: why do I do this? Is this truly what I want? Cultivate a deep connection with yourself, understanding your authentic desires, values, and aspirations, independent of external pressures. Extend this connection to the natural world around you. Spend time in its embrace, observing its rhythms, drawing inspiration and perspective from its timeless wisdom. Living deliberately is about conscious engagement with your existence, becoming the author of your own story, rather than merely a character in someone else's script. It's an ongoing process of self-discovery and intentional action. Finally, the third pillar is to act with conscience. This principle demands that you don't remain a passive participant in your own life or in the broader society you inhabit. Your deeply held principles, your sense of right and wrong, your personal ethics, these should not be theoretical constructs stored away, but active forces that guide your daily actions and decisions. Whether it's in your work, your relationships, your consumption habits, or your civic engagement, let your conscience be your compass. Stand up for what you believe in, contribute meaningfully, and align your external behavior with your internal convictions. This isn't about grand gestures, it's about the integrity of your everyday choices, building a life of profound authenticity and moral fortitude step by deliberate step. Embracing these three pillars, simplify intentionally, live deliberately, and act with conscience, offers a powerful framework for transforming your existence. They invite you to move beyond the superficial, to reclaim your agency, and to forge a life rich in meaning, purpose, and genuine connection. By integrating these principles, you embark on a journey towards a more authentic, fulfilling, and profoundly human experience. We've spent time together, delving into profound reflections on life purpose and the journey towards self-discovery. The echoes of a deliberate existence free from undue complexities resonate powerfully even today. Now, as our exploration concludes, a new chapter begins for you. This isn't just about intellectual understanding, it's a vibrant call to action. Your Walden doesn't need to be a secluded cabin in the woods. It's any place, any moment where you consciously choose to live with purpose, to strip away the superfluous, and to embrace what truly matters. It's about sculpting a life that genuinely aligns with your deepest values, rather than passively accepting one prescribed by the endless hum of external demands. This transformative journey starts with a single intentional step. So here's your day one challenge, a tangible commitment to begin building your own space for meaningful living. What's one thing you're simplifying this week? Think practically. Could it be decluttering a specific drawer or a digital folder? Limiting social media scrolling for a set period each day? Or perhaps saying a gentle no to an obligation that no longer energizes you? Whatever it is, share your chosen simplification, your small act of personal liberation, in the comments section below. Let's cultivate a thriving community dedicated to intentional living, where we can inspire and uplift each other on these unique yet shared paths. If these discussions have resonated deeply with you, if they've sparked a desire to continuously explore practical philosophy for modern life and translate ancient wisdom into contemporary action, then I wholeheartedly encourage you to subscribe to this channel. By joining our growing community, you'll ensure you don't miss future content designed to empower your journey, provoke deeper thought, and provide actionable insights for navigating the complexities of modern existence with greater clarity, purpose, and peace. And to truly immerse yourself in the revolutionary ideas and timeless wisdom we've begun to uncover, I strongly urge you to engage directly with the source material. Whether you choose to purchase your own copy, borrow one from your local library, or experience it through an audiobook, experiencing the author's original words in their full scope and profound eloquence is an invaluable and deeply personal step. Their voice will undoubtedly speak directly to your spirit, offering a unique blend of challenge, comfort, and profound inspiration that transcends centuries, guiding you further along your own path of personal awakening and deliberate living. Remember, the most extraordinary adventures, the ones that redefine our existence, always begin with a single courageous step and an unwavering conviction. The power to shape your reality rests within you right now. Go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Live the life you've imagined.